ready. Let's do it. Live from the Tickscape Studios. Let's f***ing go.
Oh, welcome to the Friday edition of LFG here on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. A lot to get to this Friday. And I mean, a lot to get to and some juicy stuff to get to today as well. Dave Benz hanging out with you out in the Bay Area. Matt Fowler is producing the show today from out in the Arizona area. And Jim Cosmore is coming to us today. Wherever you are, Jim, if you're watching on the live stream, it looks cold.
Yes, very cold. Very, very cold, my friend.
Are you allowed to reveal your exact location?
Yeah, because I do shows everywhere but from where I'm supposed to do them. So I think I've been on with you from Chicago, from Las Vegas, from parts unknown. And on this occasion, I am in Bloomington, Indiana, because as you guys know, I'm a man of letters. I don't deal with your sports games at all. I'm a man who is about education and learning things. And so I'm on the campus of Indiana University, taking a tour here and part of a 3-school tour that I'll be going on over the next 4 days. So I'm excited about it. And one of my two daughters who are 18 years old is touring IU, and I'm here today as well.
What are the other schools on the docket?
We will leave here this evening, and it's funny because the NBA All-Star Game is in Indianapolis, and it's going to start to snow here right around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the snow is supposed to get pretty heavy, about 3 inches of snow. And our next trip is up the road about 2 hours to Purdue University in West Lafayette. Then we'll take a night in Chicago on Sunday, and Monday morning get up and go to Madison, Wisconsin, where we will go visit the Badgers. So we've got a Big Ten trip all slated. In fact, when we're in Chicago, we might even go to Northwestern University just to take a look. So it could be an all Big Ten 4-day stop.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty awesome. And the NBA All-Star Weekend, that is one of the things we need to get into today. Brian Windhorst wrote a great article that came out today on ESPN about kind of how we got here with the NBA All-Star Game. So we'll get into that a little bit today. Also going to get into a little bit about some of the news of what is breaking today on TV, about what you might want to watch tonight. And it's juicy regarding Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots. But I want to start with...
I can't wait. I can't wait, by the way. You hit me to that, and I am so juiced that I hope I'm able to get in front of a television and see that. That's going to be something really cool. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome, and we'll get to that in a second. I do want to just get the disturbing portion of the show out of the way. The details continue to come out from what happened in Kansas City yesterday, and I have two thoughts. First of all, I went to one of the major news organization apps this morning, and I literally had to scroll down for I don't know, maybe about 30 stories down before I saw any coverage of what had happened in Kansas City. And to me, that's kind of like shocking that we're in it, that's how desensitized we have become to all this. That it's like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah, another shooting. But the stories about Andy Reid was in Union Station trying to comfort somebody who apparently had not been shot, but had fallen because he tried to jump over a fence while he was trying to escape being shot and landed on his face. So he's bleeding profusely in Union Station. And Andy Reid came up to him and was comforting him. And the stories of what the players were doing, trying to comfort people. And now Taylor Swift has come out and I believe donated $100,000. But it does break your heart as the news comes out. And Coz, the question I have for you is,
Sure.
Are championship parades going to become a thing of the past? I mean, last year the Nuggets, when they won their championship, there was a shooting towards the end of that in which 2 people were injured, and now you've got 20-something people that have been shot and 1 killed, and others still presumably fighting for their lives in Kansas City. Is it going to get to a point where it's going to be like, yeah, okay, it's great, we won a championship, but it's just not worth the infrastructure and the risk to have people come out? I mean, that I feel like that might be where this is heading.
It's funny because before this or these incidences, You go back to the 90s when the Bulls were winning 6 championships in 8 years, and the Chicago Bulls were doing public service announcements on television from the players, from Phil Jackson, from Michael Jordan, from Scottie Pippen, all the guys on the team saying, you know, after the and they recorded them earlier, but when they won the title, they began running them on all the TV channels, saying, "Hey, let's stay together as a community. Let's stay together as a city. Let's not cause any troubles." Because in Chicago, they were burning cars and they were turning cars over, and it happened in San Francisco. And you and I were both there when the Giants won a World Series. At one point, they turned over a car and they set something on fire. But you're talking about the actual parade itself. And I was thinking about this after this particular incident and then rehashing what went on in Denver. And I do think that for the majority, obviously, it was such a spectacular occasion that I think they might have to rethink how they do it. Maybe there's no longer a parade that goes through a parade route where anyone can get there. But maybe you have it in a confined space like either the football stadium. That means it's going to be condensed to 65,000 people. You won't get 500,000 people out there. But that way you can control who comes in and what they have, because going to each and every building, whether we're in the media or a fan, we have to go through metal detectors, and they want to make sure that we're clean. I think we're going to have to rethink how they do the parades or how they do the celebrations. But you can make a strong case to say, you know what, you won the title, everyone celebrated on their own, and the event is over. So I can understand that too.
Yeah, it's always been, people sometimes go kind of crazy when you win the title. But usually it's on that night. You think about it, and I'm not condoning any of it. I mean, flipping over cars and setting things on fire is never good. But, actually shooting people, pulling out your gun and shooting children, that is a whole nother level.
It's children shooting children if you look at it. The suspects that they were holding are 17 years old. The alleged gunmen are 17 years old. It's children shooting children at this juncture. That's how we have devolved as a community.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll tell you, I quick aside, I was in Toronto in '93 with my dad. I went to the World Series, Game 6 of the World Series, when Joe Carter hit the walk-off home run to
wow,
end
what a thriller.
Yeah, to end the series against the Phillies. To this day, it's still the greatest singular moment in sports history that I've ever seen in person. And after the game, my dad, he was a big Yankees fan, and for some reason decided he wanted to wear his Yankees jacket to Game 6 of the '93 World Series. And
Canadians are nice, Dave. Canadians are all nice. They don't do anything.
They are nice, but when the game ended and we're walking the streets, people were like, Yankees fan, and I had to tell my dad, I was like, Dad, you got to take the jacket off. You got to
turn it around.
So then he takes the jacket off and he's walking carrying the jacket, and we turn a corner. We literally see people push. They pushed over a bus. Like they just literally pushed a bus onto his side.
How do you do that? How many people would it take to push a bus over?
I mean, it was probably at least 100.
That's impressive right there.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, so anyway, so that was my, but still, even when that happened, I didn't feel great. Like, hey, we were in the safest place on earth, but I didn't feel like we were about to possibly die. So, it's gotten out of control, and I think it's a really tough question, right? I mean, if I'm a mayor of a major city and my team wins a championship, of course I want the city to celebrate. But if you can't keep your people safe, then, that's a topic for another day. But I felt like we needed to talk about it. There are some stories coming out about some of the good that unfortunately had to come out of this with, with Andy Reid and with Taylor Swift now. But I mean, it's just terrible that we're in this situation.
It is. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And I understand what you're saying, but I'll tell you, I said it earlier this week. Sports are one of the last things that bring us all together. Different races, different creeds, different faiths all come together to support something. I'm starting to rethink my beliefs in that, because you're right. The more you click off these things, going back into the 90s, turning over a bus, I can remember the Vancouver Canucks losing in the Stanley Cup and their town shreds when their team lost, of all things. You can go town after town after town and see where things are destroyed. And I'm starting to second guess my theory of sports being the great equalizer and thing that brings us together. So now you've made me sad, Dave.
Well, I didn't mean to make you sad. It's those jackholes in Kansas City that are, and the people that are saying, hey, let's take a gun to a rally. Let's see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a story that unfortunately we'll continue to learn more about, but a story none of us really wants to have to cover or talk about. Let's change gears because Coz, I knew you'd be fired up about this. Did you watch the trailer for the Dynasty that's coming out tonight on Apple TV?
I have not seen the trailer, but I've read about it earlier today, and I am really jacked about this because I did not think. Well, explain what it is, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, I'm going to play the trailer. Now, granted, this trailer is made for TV, so part of it is, some flashy graphics and some sound effects. So it's not 100% going to translate to radio as well as TV. But here's what the trailer looks like. It's about a minute, and I am fired up to watch this tonight on Apple TV.
Will be scrutinized, celebrated for as long as the game is played.
In pro football, nobody's entitled to anything. You have to go out there and earn it.
I was pretty intent on proving myself.
We were going to determine the future of football in New England.
The Patriots are Super Bowl champions!
First dynasty of the century. This game is like a narcotic. You're chasing that forever.
Breaking news right now.
Spygate. Deflategate.
Aaron couldn't separate himself from that dark side.
That team won enough to become the villain.
We worked for Bill, but we played for Tom.
Bill tore Brady's head completely off.
There's things that are done that can't be undone.
I was just trying to hold it together the best I could.
This team will be scrutinized, celebrated for as long as the game of football is played.
All right, I'm not a Patriots fan, but that fires me up, man. And seeing some of the quotes that have come out of this, the Dynasty, it's a 10-part project. It premieres tonight on Apple TV. They're going to drop 2 episodes per week over the next 5 weeks. And it's kind of like, The Last Dance, if you will, Coz, because you're getting this unseen footage. And supposedly Wes Welker said that he felt like Tom Brady was an abused dog. Rob Gronkowski says in there that there were days he sat in the car and didn't want to get out of the car because he didn't want to go into practice. That is how kind of toxic it had become with Bill Belichick. And just a little snippet you heard there from Danny Amendola saying, we worked for Bill, but we played for Tom. I mean,
wow.
that basically.
I had heard that one before.
Yeah,
I had heard that one.
I mean, that is that has got me excited to see this, and I honestly, I can't say I'm shocked by what I'm seeing in the build-up to this. I think everybody kind of knew that Belichick was, tyrannical in the way that he ran things in New England, but I didn't realize that the rift maybe was as deep as we're about to find out.
Yeah, that's going to be the best part of it, and that's why I think this is going to be. I'll say it, and I haven't even seen any of this. This is the first time hearing the sound of this. I think it will become better than The Last Dance. The Last Dance was a tribute to Michael Jordan, done by Michael Jordan, produced by Michael Jordan, and he's the guy who signed off on all the sound and all the video that you saw. So it was praise number 23. He didn't talk about any of the bad things and didn't talk about how the horrible things that he used to do to people. All right, this sounds like it's raw. This sounds like it's real. This sounds like people are able to be unchained and speak what they want to speak, and I can't wait for that kind of juicy access. This is our TMZ moment. This is what we want to hear about the greatest dynasty of all time. If they're the greatest dynasty of all time, at least in the Super Bowl era, and if it's true, what did it take to get there? Did it take an evil tyrant, the way we're sounding Bill Belichick to be? I mean, that could very well be part of the equation, that he needed to be that guy for Tom Brady to be who he became.
Yeah, and the fact that, Belichick didn't offer Brady the 2-year, $50 million contract he wanted at the end, and Brady eventually decided that he just needed to get out, and it goes and wins a title. It really is just unbelievable. And by the way, Chad Graff, who did get a chance to watch the series, wrote about it on The Athletic and said when he first heard about it, he thought it was going to be basically an infomercial about how good the Patriots dynasty was and about how great Belichick was, but that this is definitely not that. I mean, this is something that I didn't even know this was coming down the pipe. And when I saw this morning, I was like, wow, this looks juicy. This might be the best thing that I've ever seen Apple TV have its name tied to.
Yeah, that is. I think that's really good. And it's interesting how they got everyone to speak. And it seems like everyone, meaning Belichick, meaning Brady, meaning the players. And it sounds like it's going to be one side, even the owner, right? I mean, we even heard from Robert Kraft in that sound piece. So this is going to be a real undressing of what happened in that era of super greatness that the New England Patriots had. And so this has a chance to be groundbreaking. And I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard more of a lead up to this. And you heard this leading up to it?
I just heard about it this morning. I literally just heard about it this morning. It was kind of buried on something as I was doing my show prep, and I was like, wait, what? I'm shocked as well that it hasn't gotten more play. And think about all the other things. It's not only Brady Belichick. I mean, obviously that is going to be the central theme, I think, throughout the entire docuseries. But you've got Aaron Hernandez getting arrested for murder. I mean, Aaron Hernandez was a significant player on that team early in the Patriots dynasty. You've got Spygate, Deflategate. I mean, all these little other things that are associated with this. And think about where the Patriots were before the dynasty started. Yeah, they went to the Super Bowl under Bill Parcells in '96 in Super Bowl 31. So it wasn't like they had been complete garbage for a super long time. But overall, for a few decades, they were pretty an insignificant franchise on the NFL
They went
landscape.
in the 80s. Remember, they went in the 80s as well. 86, I think Raymond Berry was their head coach at the time, if I'm not mistaken. But they made it to the Super Bowl, lost to the Chicago Bears. So you can make an argument. All right, made it to a Super Bowl in the 80s, made it to a Super Bowl in the 90s, and then started that dominance when Belichick took over. And Belichick didn't have a great stance when he was in Cleveland, when he was taking over the Browns. But this is really going to be, man, the more I think about it, this is going to be juicy. And it also leads you to wonder, is that what it takes? If you're an evil tyrant, is that what it takes for you to win? Can you win being just a regular old good guy and sustain dominance? Or at some point, does that wear off? Do you have to be the evil tyrant?
There's only one coach I know of that did not have the evil tyrant side, at least not visible in him. I'm sure he had, I'm sure he ruled with an iron fist when he needed to. But the one guy, Coz, that genuinely is a great human being and was a fantastic coach and did win was Tony Dungy. Like, Tony Dungy was just one of the I had a chance to cover him both from afar when I worked in Green Bay and he was coaching the Tampa Bay Bucks, and then when he went to Indianapolis and I was working in Indy. Also, Joe Gibbs, by the way. I should also include Joe Gibbs in that conversation. Joe was also a true gentleman, a great guy, but I'm sure behind closed doors he knew how to rule things. So I don't think there's one mold that you have to follow, but there are a lot more guys that want to do it a Bill Parcells way than a Tony Dungy or Joe Gibbs type way.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you mentioned Dungy. How many did Dungy win?
I think he only won the one. He won the one
right.
in Indy.
And
Really, I mean, Gruden won the one the year after Dungy left Tampa. Gruden won with basically all of Dungy's guys.
Right.
But,
by the way, Gruden was an evil tyrant. And I mean that since I'm kick puppies or anything like that. I mean it. I'm using these words in the sports sense. Gibbs won 2, didn't he? Gibbs won 2 when he was the head coach of the Washington at the time Redskins.
I want to say Gibbs won 3, maybe, didn't he?
Oh, you could be right. You
could
be right.
I think Gibbs won 3.
Yeah, I think you are. You know what? It's funny. I always think of the Redskins version of Washington. Somehow I think George Allen won. I don't know where I got that from. George Allen won 1 and Gibbs won 2 more. But winning 3, I would say, constitutes dynastic levels of play. If I switch over to a different sport in the NBA, Pat Riley was an evil tyrant with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he won how many? 4 NBA championships. He's been an evil tyrant everywhere he's gone. He's won more championships with the Miami Heat. So, you can look at it any way you want to look at it. I wonder if you can find, though, really good guys, and you pointed out 2 of them, but really good guys Joe Torre. Is baseball a different sport that way? Torre was he was
Bruce
in charge of the
Bochy?
Dynasty.
Bruce Bochy?
Oh, that's a great one. Bruce Bochy's a great one. Although, our friend Tim Flannery has told us enough stories that, when you get behind closed doors, not everything is patting on the back and spitting tobacco. It can get a little bit ugly when you're competing. And that's what grown men do, by the way. If you didn't know that, grown men who do this for a living, they compete and they complete pretty effing hard, for crying out loud. So you're going to get some emotion.
Well, but here's the thing. I think a guy like Bochy, I heard Jeremy Elfelt tell a story one time that, he had a scoreless inning streak going, and he got into a huge dust-up with Bochy because he was like 2/3 of an inning away from setting some kind of scoreless inning streak, and he walked. A guy got a leadoff hit. He walked the next guy. He's got, and there were 2 outs in the inning, and then the guy got a leadoff hit. Then he got 2 outs, and he walked a guy, and so now he's got first and second. And so Bochy went in and got him, and Affeldt blew up at Bochy afterwards, and then Bochy, called him in his office afterwards. And Affeldt thought he was calling him in to chew him out because Affeldt, visibly in front of him, showed him up as he was leaving the mound. And he thought Bochy was going to chew him out. And Bochy called him in his office and said, "Yeah, they told me about the scoreless inning streak after I pulled you out, and I should have let you clean up, have a chance to clean up your own mess, because whoever they brought in gave up a double or whatever, and it was over." So
that's painful.
Yeah, so but at least Boach said that. But that's how you become a player's guy, right? Because it's like, you do what you got to do when you're in the moment, but then you be like, hey, you know what? I messed up. I'm not perfect. And I don't know. Listen, I'm sitting here guessing. I don't know how Bill handles players behind closed doors, but I think we're going to learn a lot more about that coming up tonight when this drops. All right, so I'm super excited about that. That's going to be awesome. I do want to point out a couple other things we're going to have on the show today. We will continue. I came up with a name, by the way, Coz. I think we're just going to call Spring Swing. We're going to continue our Spring Swing.
That's a good one. That's a really good one, actually.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Spring Swing today, we are actually going to head to Minneapolis and bring in Cory Provus, who is the Minnesota Twins play-by-play guy. And Cory, I don't know how well you know Cory or how familiar you are with his work, but he is one of those guys who's got the pipes that I wish I had. He's got, the Joel Myers type of pipes. And if he's
got an extra testicle, is that what he's got? An extra testicle?
Yeah, it sounds like he's got an extra something there.
Yeah. And he smokes a pack of cigarettes. Have you ever worked with guys? When I was in the league in the NBA, there were some guys who would literally, and this is the old time announcers on radio. They'd get the game notes, they tear off the first sheet and put it in front of them just so they had the rosters. And just before tip off, they'd go into the tunnel and they'd smoke a couple of cigarettes, and then they'd go and call the game. So they had great deep voices too. It was pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, Johnny Most was the guy that was famous for smoking all the time. So smoking.
He was smoking during the broadcast.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to chime in on any of this, are you excited about the Patriots docuseries? 352-234-TONY, 352-234-8669, the number to dial or to text the show. And, we're happy to have you be a part of it as well. Matt Fowler is sitting there ready to take your calls as a Time Life operator.
How's Matt Fowler? We got to do the Matt Fowler kind of a temperature. Let's do it. We'll call it Matt Fowler's temperature. How are you feeling today, Matt? You look like you're a little glum right now. Are you everything going okay over there? You physically, you got it going?
Yeah, everything's fine.
There you go. That sounded that sounded a little phlegmy. I'm going to be honest with you. That sounded a little phlegmy.
It was not a great night of sleep last night for me, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I was up at 6 a.m. Pacific time working. I did a lot of prep on the show today, so.
Attaboy. That's why you're getting paid. That's the big bucks right there.
Well, Matt, we appreciate it. Matt had a makeup Valentine's Day night last night, and then he.
No wonder there wasn't a lot of sleep, if you know what I'm saying. Huh?
I can neither confirm or deny the rumors. That you may have
Look at
heard.
that. I know, between you two, man, I'll tell you don't even leave any for me. You guys are taking it all. I'm telling you, the stories I get from Dave and Matt. Wow.
Yeah, Matt was crushing it last night. That's
Jesus.
anyway. So Matt Fowler, he stayed up and crushed it on Celebrity MMA after making sure his lady got their makeup Valentine's Day date going, and then so Celebrity MMA, we'll have that today coming up around 11:15 ish.
Great combatants in this one. Great combatants.
Yeah, tied to the Super Bowl, which, by the way, Coach, you said on Monday that we should have talked about, or on Tuesday, because we didn't have a show Monday, that we should have talked about the great Super Bowl ads. So we're going to tie in something that happened with the Super Bowl ads. And I don't know that I really want to go too far down that road, but you loved the Christopher Walken ad.
Oh, that was hilarious. I thought the Christopher Walken ad, where all the different people that he runs into during his course of a day are talking like Christopher Walken. I think we've all tried to do a Christopher Walken impression at some point, but man, that guy is amazing. And the one that seems to be the hands down winner is the Dunk Kings, the Dunkin' Donuts ad with that Tom Brady is in with Ben Affleck. And Jalen was in it as well.
Yeah.
That seems to be the hands down leader or winner. It was that commercial was so good, guys. I actually almost went to Dunkin' the next day and got myself a Dunkin' Donut because I
did go to Dunkin' the next day.
Did you? Then you know what? That ad won. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, look up the Dunk Kings or the Dunkin' Donuts Super Bowl ad. There's a 4-minute version of it, Matt. There's the long play version of it. That's really, really good. And Ben Affleck put a lot of effort into it. And I'm not a Ben Affleck guy. I'm not anti, but I'm just not a Ben Affleck guy. I think he's been riding some coattails, but he was really good in this. And the 4-minute version is really entertaining. Hey, give big ups to Tom Brady. This is the Tom Brady show. He's going to be on the Apple special tonight, and he's on that commercial from last Sunday. So big ups to Tom.
I got to go back and rewatch that one. The other one that got high regards was the Good Neighbor from Arnold Schwarzenegger. That one got some high marks as well.
Yep.
But the Christopher
They're still
Walken
running that thing a lot.
Yeah, the Christopher Walken thing was good. And then I just pulled this up, by the way, because I don't know if I have it queued up to the right spot. Let's find out.
We just wasted 2 good tracks. This last one was even better than the first.
Well, it's just that I find Gene's cowbell playing distracting. I don't know. If I'm the only one, I'll shut up.
No, it's pretty rough. You know, I can pull it back a little if you like. Not too much, though. I'm telling you, fellas, you're going to want that cowbell on the track. You know what? It's fine.
I need more cowbell. That's my favorite Christopher Walken thing of all time.
In the NBA in Sacramento, there was a time when the Kings and the Lakers had a big rivalry going. And Phil Jackson, who is one of the greatest at work in the media, during the series, he accused Sacramento of being a small podunk town with a bunch of hicks and all their cowbells. And I'm telling you, from that moment on, that town, everyone had a cowbell. They had cowbell night. They were bringing in huge cowbells that were the size of your head, Dave. And it became their moniker. That became their rallying cry, was that, look at us. We're this tiny little town and we're going to kick your ass. That didn't end up working, but man, we used to play that up on the Arena Vision board at the old Arco Arena all the time, and people would whip out those cowbells, man. That was great.
I remember that going. I was working in Dallas, and the Kings were getting ready to play the Mavs, and I shot a bit about the cowbell going into that series. Yeah, that was a big story back then. The cowbell. Need more cowbell. I think that predated the Christopher Walken SNL bit, though, didn't it?
It might have, and then eventually when they ran that, they started to use it a couple years later. I don't think they do that anymore. I haven't been back to the new building in about 4 seasons, but it was a huge thing at the old Arco Arena when it was falling apart. Boy, those cowbells and the hatred for the Lakers, the sports hatred for the Lakers was real. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
guys, I'll tell you, I'm sick. The only prescription is more cowbell.
Exactly.
We need more cowbell. All right. All right. With that, let's take a little of this to break. When we come back, we're gonna have a Matt Fowler sports update. And we're going to have Cory Provus join us for our spring swing. Stay with us. You're listening to the Friday edition of LFG here on the Tony Bruno Sports Network.
Come on, Jim!
How much time do we have?
Hang on. 117, 137, 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
I'm going to try to save some battery life, so let me just do a quick hang up. I'll call you guys right back.
Cool. Hey, Matt,
Cool.
did you send out a tweet today?
No.
All right, can you compose one quick?
Yeah, I think so. I'm doing a lot here. I don't know if I can.
All right. Keep an eye out for Cory joining. He's got the studio link, right?
Yes.
What's the Tony Bruno Sports Network handle for Twitter?
Tony Bruno Nation. Wait. Yeah, Tony Bruno Nation. It's just Tony's, but. All right, we got one more after this.
All right. You're going to roll the sports update sounder, right?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to turn the mics back up for the rejoiner here.
Okay.
Welcome back to LFG. Let's go on the Tony Bruno Sports.
It's the bottom of the hour, or close enough. Time for your Tickscape Studios Sports Update with Matt Fowler.
Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith, who has a $12.7 million option on his contract, is set to become fully guaranteed Friday, was informed on Thursday he will remain on Seattle's roster through this week. And Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is being suspended 2 games for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substance policy, league sources confirmed. For all your updates and the latest takes, tune into the Tony Bruno Sports Network on the TBSN app. Now back to Jay Benz and Jim Kozimor. This is LFG.
Wait a minute. Did I get that straight? Jimmy G, performance enhancing?
Yes.
How long's he been suspended?
2 games.
2 games. Wow. Whatever performance enhancers he was using, I'm not sure that they would want that advertised.
Definitely not.
Matt, you're obviously a big 49ers guy. Were you a Jimmy G guy?
I was a Jimmy G guy, and by the way, the policy violation looks like it's related to Garoppolo using a prescribed medication without having a valid therapeutic use exemption from the league. That's what they say.
Well, sometimes without knowing the details, I mean, I'm making fun just because Jimmy obviously didn't have a good year, and his road to Vegas has obviously not gone the way that he or the Raiders hoped. But at the same time, I know there's so many loopholes that these players can get caught up in, and it could have been something innocent, so I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's shocking to me that story just kind of caught my attention. Anyway, Friday edition rolls on. Dave Benz, along with Matt Fowler, Jim Kozimor, will be rejoining the show momentarily. He is on location at Indiana University, where he is touring the school today with one of his daughters as she is trying to figure out where she is going to attend her college experience, where she's going to go for college, attend her college experience. It's Friday, Matt. It's Friday. And we're going to also on this show, we're going to be getting an update on the sandwich scoreboard. I went ahead and did some math. I figured out, Matt, exactly who owes everybody what, rather than just saying, that
scoreboard update.
There you go. You've got it. Oh, Matt's got the sounders now. Do you have those on the Roadcaster, or do you have a virtual soundboard?
I have those in Apple Music, but they will be on the Roadcaster momentarily.
All right, that was nicely done. By the way, during the break, I did finally get logged into the TBSN text line, so you can text the show at 352-234-8669. You can call the show at that same number, 352-234-8669, if you want to chime in. Jim Kozimor has rejoined us. And, Koz, while we're waiting for Cory Provus to join us for our spring swing and talk about the Minnesota Twins, a very interesting team, by the way, the Twins. They're one of those teams that you feel like could they take the next step and really contend for a title, or are they going to be a team that is going to fall back into the pack after they, by a lot of standards, overachieved last year? So we'll continue our preview of baseball as we go through. I also wanted to spend a little time talking about the NBA All-Star Game. And Coach Brian Windhorst wrote a great article today talking about the history of the All-Star Game and kind of where it has gotten to and how it got here. And he brought up this nugget here from Michael Jordan back in the day in 2003.
And Michael has the ball, again guarded by Shawn Marion. The fadeaway, yes! With 4 8/10 seconds remaining.
Michael takes the fadeaway again over the outstretched arm of Shawn Marion and just hits an incredible shot right there. It takes a lot of energy to get this type of shot up and in.
A double overtime thriller in the NBA back in 2003. Michael Jordan, a big part of that. Kobe Bryant was a big part of that. And the NBA All-Star Game really, at one point, was something you wanted to circle on your calendar. You wanted to see it because you knew when the game was on the line, the players were going to come to play. They were going to come bring it, and they were going to do everything they could to try to win. I feel like those days are gone as we get Jim Kozimor back on.
You're right, they are.
And Coz,
those days are far gone.
Can they get it back? They've tried everything to try and tweak this thing.
No, they can't. And I think you put this in the Players Association and you put it on the players. I am more entertained by a flag football game of NFL guys because they try. They have fun. They go up against one another and compete. Even though there isn't the hard hitting that we expect in a game, you get action from guys and you get reactions from guys. In the NBA game, they're sleepwalking. It's an embarrassment. And I lay this solely on the players and the Players Association. And it's another mark against the NBA. I'm telling you, man. This is the worst All-Star game of all.
And, Coach, here's the thing. You and I are big NBA guys. We both made a living in the NBA for quite a long time. I love the game, but when I saw Brian Windhorst's article today about the timeline, and he traces it back basically to 2016 when Kobe Bryant retired. And that next All-Star game, the West scored 196 points, which had never been done. Then, in 2017, the two teams combined for 374 points, and there were 83 dunks, all of them pretty much uncontested. In 2018, rather than dunk, they only 27 dunks, but the teams combined to take, get this, 123 three-pointers. If you think that's a high number, in 2019, they took 167 three-pointers. And then the league was like, okay, everybody's just standing around taking threes. What are we going to do? So they adopted the Elam ending where there wasn't going to be a clock in the fourth quarter. And it worked that first year because there was some drama in that first game. But then COVID kind of sidelined it, and it really never really came back. I don't think the fans really ever understood how it worked or what it was about. And then they decided, well, let's just draft teams. And it basically became a travesty and something that I, Coz, really enjoyed watching for a number of years became a sideshow that I really have lost interest in altogether.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, and it really is bad for the game itself. And the players can't tell me, well, we've got too much at stake because we get paid so much money, this game doesn't mean anything to us. You know what? You have just as much to lose in the middle of the summer when you go to the UCLA gym. You have some of the hotly contested all-star games of all when you guys are playing individually, right? When you guys get your 5-on-5 groups going, and you really do have all-star games of guys playing in the summertime, and they play pretty hard when they're at Rucker Park in New York. They play well. They don't do that as much as they used to in the old days. But when they're at UCLA gym, and you know about those games that are played. Magic Johnson used to be the ringleader of those things back in the old days, and they play just as hard. To not do it on the stage where marketing is at stake for them, I guess that's the only way to get their attention is to say, this is a great marketing opportunity for you guys. But they don't take pride in the game, and that's embarrassing. That's really not a good thing for the game, and I don't think it helps grow the game. And I know everyone thinks Adam Silver is a super great commissioner, but this falls on him as well. He has not been able to get together with the Players Association to make sure they understand how important this game is for the league. And there you have it, a boring exhibition of worse than YMCA basketball, and they're going to try to pump it up. Well, I'm not buying the garbage that they're selling.
Here's the thing that made me even feel worse about it. Windhorst later in his article, and I hadn't heard this, but says that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was asked about what they need to do to make it a better product, and Shea is going to the All-Star game for the first time this year. Shea said, well, maybe they need to incentivize our performances with a little more cash, like the $500,000 cash prize for the winners in the in-season tournament. And it's like, are you kidding me? Really? You guys need more money?
Yeah. And I'm all for guys making more money, but quite frankly, that's egregious to the point where I will never buy a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander jersey. And if my kid owned one, I'd burn it in front of him, because that is disrespecting the fan and the game right there. Again, I'm all for everyone making as much money as they can, but this is an honor to be an all-star. And that tells you what the player's mindset is. It's not an honor. They already feel privileged and entitled. It's the worst group of athletes you're going to get in pro sports. And this only proves it more, how little they care about their own game. And Dave, I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm in near central Indiana, and that's all you see on the TV news. But it's funny. They had the NBA Cares event this morning. And you know who was there working the NBA Cares event? The people from the Indianapolis 500 were working the NBA Cares event. Not NBA players, not NBA executives, people from the Indianapolis 500. Thanks, NBA, for your NBA Really Cares.
Wow. I did not know that. That's news from Boots on the Ground right there. Jim Kozimor coming to us from the Hoosier State.
Yep, I'm right here for you, buddy. I'm going to give you the real deal. And it was funny because they did a whole morning spread, and they showed all the different events that they have for fans, and they did the economic impact stories, and they did the like the traveling, I wouldn't call it the traveling Hall of Fame, but it was interactive games and things where you can dribble against guys, and it's a video game, and you can shoot jumpers against guys. So it's a pretty cool thing that they have going on. But I didn't see any NBA representatives there for some reason. And you'd think they'd have somebody getting up early helping promote this stuff, even if it's not an all-star, even if it's an Indiana Pacer, you know, the 15th guy on the roster or whatever it is, just to be there to have some fun with it. You didn't get that. Thanks, NBA. Thanks for caring.
And by the way, here's your names for the AT&T Slam Dunk Contest this year. Okay, Jaylen Brown. I've heard of him. He's he's a legit NBA player, and
he's a star. He's a star.
He's a star. Former Cal Bear. I'm excited to see him in the Slam Dunk Contest. But are you excited to tune in to see Jamie Jaquez Jr.? Can you even name what team he's on, Coz?
See, it's so funny you say that, because before you went with this bit, I was going to say you should name a player and have Matt and I pick the team he plays for.
All right.
Don't they do that? Don't they do that on the NBA on TNT? I think they call it who he played for. They do
Really?
that segment. Yeah.
Good sentence structure. Good sentence structure there.
Well, no, that's literally the name of the segment.
I know. I'm not blaming you. I'm taking the shots elsewhere. Anyway, I think didn't Jaquez Jr. play for UCLA?
I don't know where he played college ball, but I know where he plays his NBA ball.
I do not know where he plays in the NBA, but I'm going to take a guess, and I'm going to say he plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
You are incorrect. He plays for the Miami Heat. Your other NBA your other NBA slam dunk participants, Jacob Toppin.
Jacob Toppin was he a Knick pick?
He is a Knick. And then of course you got the guy who made headlines last year in the dunk contest, Mac McClung of the Osceola Magic is back. And I'm finishing up that segment quickly because I'm told, according to Matt Fowler, that Cory Provus is with us on the phone line. I didn't see him pop up in the studio, but Matt's got him on the phone. Is that correct, Matt and Cory?
Hi, Dave.
Cory, what's up, my man? How are you?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Cory Provus, the fantastic play-by-play announcer for the Minnesota Twins, joining us from. Are you in Minneapolis right now, or are you in Florida? Where are you at?
I am in the Twin Cities. Yeah, I'm heading down to Fort Myers in a little bit, but soaking up as much time as I can still with my family before the season begins.
Yeah, and of course, Cory, in addition to the Twins, does a lot of stuff with the Big Ten Network, and just encodes. And just a little bit, you've heard from Cory's pipes. Are you not envious?
Those are beautiful pipes, man. I might record this and play it when I go to bed. That's the voice of an angel right there. That is the voice of an angel.
Oh man, you got to get out more. You got to get out more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, Cory, I appreciate you coming on. We're doing a spring swing. We're going around to every team and getting somebody to come on. We had Drew Goodman, who does such a great job with the Rockies, on yesterday. And today we're turning our attention to the Twins, and we're basically asking everybody 3 questions leading up to training camp. So, Cory, the first question for you is, what is, in your mind, the biggest story for the Twins as they go into spring training?
I think it's not a new one. I think it is the health of Byron Buxton. I think that to everybody starting the year is probably fair to say that's question number 1, because Byron at Twins Fest, their annual winter fan event last month, said that he's good to go. He's back and ready to play center field. That the knee is healthy in a way that it hasn't been in years. Byron last year played fewer than 90 games again, and all of the big league games he appeared in all came as a DH. But if this guy is right, if this guy is able to play center field, he's an MVP caliber player, but his body has just not been able to hold up. He's played in 140 games or more only one time, and that was in 2017. But Byron said his knee is healthy. And when pitchers and catchers, they're there already. But when the position players join the workouts next week, I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Byron to see if indeed he's out there doing some of the work in the outfield with the outfield coach and Tommy Watkins, his teammates, in a way, Dave, that he wasn't at any point, at least with the big league team last season.
Cory, I'm going to ask old man question here. And I'm old enough to remember when they played in the Roller Dome, and the entire state was behind this team, and the region outside into western Wisconsin was into this team. And there was Kirby Puckett, and there was Jack Morris coming in, and one of the most thrilling performances ever. But it was really a cultural movement throughout the state of Minnesota. It was Twinsville, right? And the NFL's big, but I think there was a moment in time when the Twins were the thing. Because of the way baseball has morphed business-wise, is it possible to regain that? Is it possible for the Twins to compete at the level that they did in years past and have that same emotion statewide? Can the Twin fan, and I like the Twins, when you guys are near the playoffs, I'm rooting for you. I love the market. I love the people. But is there a belief in Minnesota that they can compete in the way that when they see the Dodgers spending money and the Cubs at times have spent money and some of these bigger market teams do it? Is Twins fan as bought in as they used to be?
I think what showed last year is that if the team is contending and the team is interesting, then they'll come out, because the playoff atmosphere, I'm not sure if that came across, how well it came across on television. I heard from friends and family it did.
I loved it. It did. And honestly,
Field,
it did.
It did, yeah.
Corey. I thought it did from where I was.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, it was unbelievable just to be there. And, they snapped, because I think the first question you would have asked me, guys, would be about, will this be the year that they finally end the playoff losing streak? Will this be the year that they finally win a postseason series for the first time in more than 20 years? Well, those two things are now in the rearview mirror. They did that last year. It was a winning, successful season last year, because not only did they win a playoff game, they swept the series, and they gave the Astros a pretty good run there. The best of 5, they lost at 4. The Astros were the better team. I will not dispute that. But I think what we saw is, okay, there's some excitement around this team because they have some charismatic players that draw you in. And I mentioned Buxton. When he's right, he's that. But the guy at third base, I think he became an October cult hero, and that's Royce Lewis. I mean, what Royce was doing, hitting home runs, hitting grand slams, and who he is as a person. I mean, you spend 5 seconds with the guy, and you're ready to spend the rest of your life with him. And he is that charismatic. He's that engaging. I mean, I mentioned the Twins fan event that they held last month. He's a Southern California native who was the first pick in the draft in 2017. He lives in Texas. But, the fan event was over on Saturday. He had a free night before he was flying back home on Sunday. And the head clubhouse manager, Rod McCormick, has 2 young boys that are probably 11 years old. They play youth hockey. What does Royce do on a free Saturday night? He goes and watches Rod's kids play hockey. I mean, he just said, all right, I'm going to go check out your kids and go to their games.
That's awesome.
And he's just an awesome guy that in terms of the market, and I don't think it's fair to say, and I'd be getting, eggs thrown at me if I said this is a Vikings town. It absolutely is. The Vikings dominate the market. Justin Jefferson is a star of stars. But if you go, team by team, and Dave, you can relate to this, with what Ant's doing around the game and who he is, with the team and how special of a player he is. But Royce is a guy that if he's here for the long run and he keeps producing in the way that he has, and a healthy Royce Lewis, he can be not just the talk of the town, but the talk of the upper Midwest and an MVP caliber player, entering this season and for years to come. He's the kind of guy that I'd be shocked if he's not on the cover of, MLB The Show in the next year or two. He's that kind of guy. He has that it factor. However you want to define it, he's that special of a player.
That's awesome. Hey, Corey, my take from afar from the Twins during, my decade plus in Minnesota was I don't know if you feel this way, but I always felt like every year that everybody was like, the Twins are going to stink this year, was the year that they were unexpectedly brilliant. And every year that they went to spring training feeling like this is going to be a great year, it never ended up that way. And I feel like it's like, hey, this has the potential to be a great year. Do you feel like it's been that way? And are you a little bit worried about that?
I mean, I would hope that they welcome the target that's on their back. They're the favorite to repeat as division champs. They've won the division 3 of the last 5 years, and I think they're the favorites to make it, fourth in the last 6. Now, has the division gotten better? I think for some teams, yes. The White Sox, no. I think the Guardians, no. But I think the Tigers are going to be better. Kansas City had a better second half. What they did with Bobby Witt Jr. was fantastic for the Royals. I think good for the game that a guy of his talent is going to stay put there for the foreseeable future and maybe the rest of his career. Those are all good things because the division has been pretty lousy. I mean, that's been the knock. I mean, up until last year, the AL Central was just disastrous, come October, because whoever won that division was playing against most likely mediocre competition. How battle-tested were they come October? And the results, haven't been pretty up until last year. What the Twins did was really, I think, good for them, of course, but also said, all right, maybe the division wasn't as easy as people made it out to be. But I think there's good optimism about the team. The lineup is fantastic. I mean, if these guys stay healthy, having a Correa, Buxton, Lewis trio there is pretty awesome. I think the back end of the bullpen is solid. Having Joan Duran, the second maybe hardest thrower in the game, having him in the 9th inning as a beast is pretty good. They got some other power guys in front of him. Pablo Lopez enters the year as an ace. He's a Cy Young candidate. This is probably the first time, Dave, since the Johan Santana era that the Twins enter a baseball season with a true ace that's on their staff. Now, is the starting staff as deep as it was last year? No. I think that's a fair question. I think entering the season, how do you replace Sonny Gray, who finished second in the Cy Young voting last year? That's not going to be easy. Kenta Maeda, was he great last year? No, but he could chew up some innings and miss some bats. He's now in Detroit. So it's not without its flaws or without its questions, but I think there are strengths that certainly stand out. And to me, the lineup and the bullpen are the top two.
All right, Cory, we always ask our guests a question about the game. It's more of a 30,000-foot view and take your guys out of this thing. But if you were to look at Major League Baseball and you're going around ballpark to ballpark or series to series, who's the most exciting player in the game? Who do you look forward to seeing for a 3 or a 4 game set? And maybe even who would you pay to see? You know, not the MVP. It doesn't have to be a guy who's an MVP, but who's the exciting guy that you look at and say, wow, this is a guy I'm really excited about watching this guy every time we play him?
Ohtani. I mean, Ohtani to me is that guy. And, you know, it sucks for the game. And as a fan, he won't pitch this season because I've been fortunate to be in Anaheim, you know, when he's throwing and he's hitting. It's a special experience when he was out there with the Angels and now with the Dodgers, of course. But when he's out there on the mound and hitting, that is really, there's just a different vibe around the park. And when the guy steps out of the dugout to begin his routine, there's this buzz and this roar that you don't hear at most places. So I think Ohtani, one of the better, I think, tweaks that the game made last season was adjusting the schedule, dropping divisional games from 19 to 13, allowing, you know, the teams to play every other team, the 29 other teams, at least one time. So this season for the Twins, having the Phillies come to Target Field, having Bryce Harper come to Target Field is a win. Having the Braves and Ronald Acuna Jr. coming to Target Field, to me, is a win. The Dodgers come to Target Field in April. Having Ohtani here, that is a win. So I think from a fan standpoint, I love the fact it got old and I think boring to play the Tigers and the Royals and the White Sox 19 times. I think 13 is fine. That is just fine. Spice it up a little bit more. So I like that aspect. I like that tweak that they made. And from a fan standpoint, seeing, you know, these great players, these great ambassadors for the sport, you know, all perform at Target Field for 81 games, I think is a thrill.
Well, Cory, it's great stuff, man. I feel like we could talk with you for another 20 minutes. I got so many things I'd love to ask you about the Big Ten as well, but we're up against the top of the hour break. My friend, I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Enjoy your time in Minnesota and enjoy that trip to Florida. I'm sure it's always nice getting to the Sunshine State this time of year.
Yeah, Dave, take care, bud. Anytime.
All right, Cory Provus with the Minnesota Twins. That does it for Hour 1 of LFG on this Friday. Back with Hour 2 after this quick timeout here on the Tony Bruno Sports Network.
All right, I'm about to run out of juice, so I'm going to hang up. So what's the game plan?
I don't know. Matt disappeared. Hopefully he's okay. We're in the commercials.
Just took his camera
we're in the commercials. Okay. So the game plan is like the next 30 minutes are going to be on tape. So I'm going to start driving to San Jose. I'm going to call in.
Yeah.
I'm going to call in at 11:30. At Coz, if you can join, that would be amazing. And hopefully we can all just bang out that last half hour.
Let me charge this and we'll get it going. Thanks,
okay,
buddy.
Okay, Matt, I'll call in at 11:30. All right, talk to you guys later.
Okay, wait. So Dave, wait. So you're just gonna call my phone and then I'm just gonna.
I'm gonna call you phone. I'm gonna call your phone. Yeah.
Okay.
And anybody watching on the live stream, thanks for watching. This is going to be the end of the live stream for today. But you can catch the rest of the show on the TBSN app, and we'll talk to you on the other side.